want you to think about something as we get into this episode of The Campfire. How many of you know someone that was murdered, whether it was a family member, friend, work friend, coworker, even an acquaintance that you talk to from time to time and keep in touch with? Or maybe it was once a friend that you lost contact with, but then hear about it in the news about that person getting killed. If you think about it, it's more common than you may think about how close to victims we really are. Bruceton Mills, West Virginia, Preston County, March 2014. Almost 2 weeks goes by that he doesn't call in or show up for work. Secure US calls Matt's home, where his wife answers and tells him that he's in a hospital and extremely sick. Matt's mother doesn't hear from him either and goes to the house to check on him. His wife, Nicole, explains to her that he's been extremely sick and can't see anyone at the moment. Secure US gets a phone call from a woman claiming to be Matt's girlfriend and that he's fine and they're going to Florida. But still, no one actually has spoken to Matt or seen him. So what happened? Matthew Knotts would be discovered to have been shot and killed in cold blood during an argument. Welcome to The Campfire. Grab your s'mores and grab a seat. Thanks for joining me tonight around the campfire where we discuss the dark world of true crime. I am your host, Kevin, and this is The Campfire Crime Chronicles, a true crime podcast. And this is the case of Matthew Knotts. Before we get into the case tonight, I want to thank the show's sponsor, BetterHelp, for helping keep the flame lit of the campfire for this episode. BetterHelp is the world's largest therapy service that's 100% online. So you don't have that awkwardness of sitting in a waiting room with a whole bunch of other strangers waiting to see your therapist. With BetterHelp, you have access to a network of over 25,000 licensed and experienced therapists who can help you with whatever you're dealing with. All you have to do to get started is answer some questions about what your needs and preferences are in therapy. So that way, BetterHelp can match you with a therapist that is right for you. And if you want to change your therapist because maybe you're not comfortable with them, you can change your therapist at any time for no additional charge. You also don't have to wait any specific time or any number of sessions to change your therapist. So when you match up with that right therapist, you can talk to your therapist however is most comfortable for you, whether it's text, chat, phone, or video. You can also message your therapist at any time and schedule live sessions when it's convenient for you and your schedule. With BetterHelp, you get the same professionalism and quality you expect from in-office therapy, but with a therapist who is custom-picked for you with more scheduling flexibility and more affordable prices. So if you go to the website and use the show's code, betterhelp.com/CCC, not only does that let them know that you heard it at the campfire, but you'll also receive 10% off your first month. So that's betterhelp.com/CCC. BetterHelp, HELP.com/CCC. Matthew L. Knotts, born July 9, 1971. He attended Bruceton High School in 1990 and then following high school would go and enlist in the U.S. Army serving in Germany. Matt worked at a security and fire alarm company called Secure US in Morgantown, West Virginia. The company is no longer in business, which is a story all on its own, which we might get into in another episode, or even in a bonus episode at the bonfire. Matt was a great friend and co-worker to those who he worked with. Matt was one of those that took pride in his work and never half-assed anything that he did. I didn't know Matt as well as I would have liked, or as well as some of the other guys that worked at Secure US with Matt, but he was one of the most friendliest and humble people that you would meet. Matt was family-oriented, and family was extremely important to him as he was always doing what he could to provide for his family. One of his passions was firearms, where whenever we worked together, we would always talk about firearms and our collection of them and going target shooting at least once during every day that we worked together. It was never a dull moment working with Matt either. He had a great sense of humor and just helped the day go by better. Matt was married to 24-year-old Nicole Knotts, where the two would go on to have 2 kids together. Matt loved those kids more than anything. They were his world, and he was always talking about them whenever we worked together. Matt lived up in Bruceton Mills in Preston County, West Virginia, where he would make the commute down the mountain to Secure US in Morgantown, West Virginia every day. One day in March, though, Matt failed to report for work, and several days would go by, almost leading to almost 2 weeks. And then Matt would be reported missing on March 17th of 2014. The West Virginia State Police headed the investigation as his residence was not in any city limits and was in the rural areas of Bruceton Mills. It was reported that Nicole at some point during the investigation of everyone looking for Matt, this is presumably after Nicole told Mitch Brozick that Matt was in the hospital, that she called Mitch again, claiming to be the girlfriend, and told Mitch that Matt was fine and that he was with her. All the while, Nicole was telling Matt's mother and anyone else allegedly looking for Matt that Matt ran away to Florida with his girlfriend from Garrett County, Maryland. According to a source, Matthew's mother made several attempts to see Matt at their home prior to calling to the police to report him missing. Every time she went to the house and talked with Nicole, she told his mother that he was real sick and couldn't see anyone. That was also the story Nicole told the kids as well when they began asking about their father. Also, according to Matt's mother, as reported by one source, she was unable to get a hold of her son since March 7th. So, given this timeline, it's safe to assume that whatever happened to Matt happened around this time, give or take, around March 7th. So this kind of behavior is totally unlike Matt to do, especially not contacting his mother. And Matt wouldn't up and leave and take off from work without letting work know. Once the investigation was in full swing, the West Virginia State Police Trooper Kennedy began looking into Matt's disappearance. He called Secure US, and that is where he talked with Mitch Brozick, and Brozick informed Trooper Kennedy that Matt was a no-call, no-show and was unable to reach Matt when he failed to show up for work for 11 days. Brozick also called Matt's wife, Nicole, who informed Brozick that Matt was sick and at Mon General, which he told Trooper Kennedy all of this. So when Brozick called Mon General to find Matt, you can imagine the surprise he got when Mon General informed him that there wasn't any patients by the name Matthew L. Knotts. With this information, West Virginia state troopers went to Matt's and Nicole's residence in Bruceton Mills with a search warrant to find out what exactly happened. That is when they discovered the body of Matthew L. Knotts on March 18th, 2014. He was 43 years old. What they discovered and how they discovered him is even more heart-wrenching. Matt's body was discovered in the bathroom under a pile of clothes with approximately a gallon of kerosene and a propane tank nearby. According to reports and what Nicole told police, her and Matt had an argument to where Matt pulled a gun on her, and then she proceeded to go into the bedroom, grabbed a .357 Magnum, and came out and shot Matt. Supposedly, the gun went off accidentally while she was walking. As an avid gun owner, firearms do not accidentally go off, and guns don't kill people, people kill people. So usually I save my opinion section for the end of the episode, but in this case, I'm calling BS on her story because Matt wouldn't threaten or hurt his wife, kids, family, or even a stranger on the street without just cause, meaning he wouldn't just have pulled a gun on Nicole over an argument. When Matt and I worked together, he would tell me about some of their arguments that they would have, and they always made up and moved on with life. None of these arguments ever became physical. Now, I know I'm going to get somebody out there who says, well, you weren't there and you only heard his side of the story. Yes, but I also knew Matt, and Matt wasn't that kind of guy to just blow up and go from zero to full psycho in a matter of seconds over an argument. Now, yes, Matt did get angry, but it wasn't the uncontrolled rage angry. He was able to control his temper and keep an argument just as that, an argument, and not get physical. So there probably is some truth to Nicole's story, but I think the details got mixed around. I believe, in a matter of opinion and speculation, that the guns were drawn by both of them. However, I think Nicole pulled the gun first on Matt, and then that's when he pulled his gun out in self-defense, and that's when she shot him and he fell back into the chair in the living room, as reported by one source. So now this is where we get into the murky waters of the story. Nicole told police that Matt got up and then walked into the master bedroom where he collapsed. However, one source told me that he died in the living room and that her boyfriend, who she was having an affair with at the time, came over and helped her move the body into the bathroom, where they piled clothes on top of him to conceal the body, and then they got the kerosene and propane tank in what I speculate they were going to plan on burning down the house and probably collect on insurance money. Also, according to that same source, that was what the argument was about that Matt and Nicole had that led to Matt's death. Matt had found out about it, and that's when the argument sparked. Nicole Knotts was arrested on March 19th, 2014, a day after the discovery of Matt's body. She was charged with first-degree murder and concealment of a deceased human body. Nicole Knotts has been in the Tygart Valley Regional Jail since 2014 on $500,000 bond. Originally, the trial was supposed to take place that fall in 2014. However, Knotts' trial would be postponed 5 times before the actual trial. This was mostly due to either the defense or the prosecution having scheduling conflicts with the expert witnesses, and the prosecution didn't want the defense to feel like they didn't have enough time to prepare and properly defend Knotts' case and chance losing the case or getting a reduction in sentencing. During the trial, the prosecution would provide testimony from Matt's boss, Mitch Brozick, as well as a cell phone conversation that Trooper Kennedy had. So the cell phone conversation that Trooper Kennedy had was with a female identifying herself as Carrie McCroby. Now, Trooper Kennedy later discovered that Trooper Leach had also called that same number, where a female identifying herself as Nikki Knotts, who was the wife of Matt Knotts, answered the phone. So during the trial, when the prosecuting attorney was telling the series of events that happened to the jury, they told that Knotts told police that when she shot, the victim fell into the chair and then got up and went into the master bathroom where he collapsed on the floor and died. So now you're probably thinking what I'm thinking. We have 3 different stories about what happened after she shot Matt. The first one was Matt got up from the chair and fell in the master bedroom. The second story is that the boyfriend came over and helped move the body to the master bathroom. And the third story, which we hear at the trial, is that he got up from the chair and collapsed in the master bathroom. So I've only seen one source about this report, and my pronunciation might be off, but a subpoena duces tecum was issued for 2 out-of-state witnesses, ordering them to appear before the court at Knotts' trial on March 28, 2017. I wasn't able to find out about the details or the testimony of the witnesses from this trial. One witness lived in Tennessee, and the other was an inmate in a Florida prison. The witness in the Florida prison was in a current sentence that was unclear in the research. The plan for this witness, though, was to use them as a material witness, and it was believed that this witness knew direct details about the case. So they wanted to transfer the witness to the custody of the state of West Virginia, which the prosecution didn't oppose to this idea, with the only request to not place them in the Tiger Valley Regional Jail where Nicole Knotts was currently serving her time. So now you're probably wondering where the boyfriend was in all of this. So if we believe the story about the boyfriend coming over and helping her hide the body, then my speculation is that after he helped her hide the body, he got the hell out of Dodge and went to Florida. That's where he got arrested for another crime and was serving time in that prison. Originally, Nicole was charged with first-degree murder and concealment of a deceased human body. However, her lawyers would be able to get an Alford or Kennedy plea, which has a 3 to 15-year prison sentence. A Kennedy plea or Alford plea means that it's a guilty plea where the defendant doesn't admit to guilt but acknowledges the overwhelming evidence against them. Now, I think that if they had gone for second-degree murder over first-degree murder, then that they would have had a better chance of getting the murder charge to stick. Because with a first-degree murder charge, you have to prove premeditation, and it sounds like in this case, proving premeditation was a bit difficult. The judge sentenced Knotts to the max sentence for the charge, which was 15 years. Under the agreement, Knotts would lose her parental rights to her children, and Knotts was required to provide DNA sample to be placed in the state's database for felony offenders. She would receive credit for more than 3 years of her sentence already served, and was sentenced to the maximum 15 years in prison, which means that she would only have to serve 12 more years in prison with the eligible parole release after 3 years. If I'm doing my math right, she would be eligible for parole in 2020. I don't believe that she was released in 2020 on parole because I was not able to find anything in the research about her receiving parole. So I don't know how her attorneys were able to get her this kind of deal, only serving a total of 15 years in prison with 3 years credit and only having to serve 12 more years for murder. There was a lot of uproar about the sentencing for Nicole only having to serve 15 years in prison with eligible parole after 3 years for murder. With good reason, too, because as a friend, and I can imagine as the family, being angry about this outcome. So I'll be doing some follow-up and keeping an eye on this case with Nicole when she gets released from prison, and we'll be providing an update for everyone as I am able to obtain information and get it. So that concludes this case at the Campfire. All resources used to gather information from this case include but not limited to news articles, reports, and some documentaries, as well as other sources. I appreciate everyone who has gathered by the Campfire with me for this case. Also, if you'd like to listen to ad-free shows as well as bonus episodes and also get a shout out on the podcast during the most recent episodes, then sign up and join me over at the Bonfire. You can find the Bonfire over on Patreon, where there are different tiers to choose from, and as we progress with growth, more tiers will be added. I appreciate all the support from all the listeners and supporters. Also, if you wish to support the show and not necessarily sign up for a subscription, you can support the show with the S'mores Fund through the website campfirecrimechronicles.com. A link will be provided in the show notes. Also, if you need some Campfire merch, then don't forget to check out the merch store, also found on the website, where I will also provide a link in the show notes. So join me next time in 2 weeks as we gather around the campfire for the next case that we dive into. And remember to sleep with one eye open. This is the Campfire Crime Chronicles, a true crime podcast.